These are your latest news updates. Here are the major developments unfolding across the United States and around the world. We begin in the United States, where the political and economic ripple effects of the growing conflict in the Middle East are now being felt at home. Across several American cities, protests have erupted both supporting and opposing the United States' involvement in military strikes against Iran. Demonstrations have taken place in cities including Washington, D.C., New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, where crowds gathered outside government buildings and public squares. Supporters argue that the military action is necessary to counter what they describe as Iran's growing regional threat. Critics, however, warn that deeper U.S. involvement could risk drawing the country into a prolonged and costly war. Security around federal buildings and major city centers has increased as officials monitor the demonstrations. At the same time, economic concerns are also beginning to surface. New labor market data released this week shows the U.S. economy lost approximately 92,000 jobs in February, a development that has raised concerns among economists and policymakers. Analysts say geopolitical uncertainty, rising energy prices, and global market volatility may be contributing to slower hiring and business caution. Financial markets have reacted sharply, with investors watching closely to see how the escalating conflict overseas may affect inflation, energy costs, and economic growth in the months ahead. Legal battles tied to U.S. trade policy are also continuing to unfold in federal court. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency has asked a judge for additional time to resolve disputes over tariff refunds linked to earlier trade policies. Businesses across multiple industries argue they are owed billions of dollars in refunds after challenging certain import tariffs. The outcome of the case could have major implications for international trade and corporate finances. Meanwhile, lawmakers are also examining reports related to spending within the Department of Homeland Security. Members of Congress have raised questions regarding certain purchases linked to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, with critics calling for more transparency about how taxpayer funds were used. Congressional oversight committees are expected to review the matter in the coming weeks. Now to international developments, where tensions in the Middle East continue to escalate dramatically. Iran has officially named Mojtaba Khamenei as the country's new supreme leader, following the death of his father, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The leadership transition comes during one of the most volatile periods in the region in decades. Analysts say Mojtaba Khamenei is expected to take a hardline stance toward both Israel and the United States, potentially intensifying the conflict further. Military activity across the region has also increased. Iranian forces have reportedly launched waves of missiles and drones targeting locations across the Gulf region, raising fears that the conflict could widen beyond the immediate confrontation between Iran, Israel, and U.S. forces. Several Gulf nations have placed their defense systems on high alert, while international leaders call for urgent diplomatic efforts to prevent further escalation. Adding another layer of tension, intelligence officials say Russia may have provided Iran with information about U.S. military positions and operations. While details remain limited, the reports have sparked concerns among Western governments about a growing alignment between Moscow and Tehran. If confirmed, analysts warn it could further complicate the geopolitical landscape and increase the risk of broader global confrontation. The military buildup is also becoming more visible in Europe. A U.S. bomber aircraft recently landed at a military base in the United Kingdom, signaling a potential expansion of strategic readiness as Allied forces prepare for possible developments in the Middle East conflict. Defense officials say the deployment is part of precautionary planning and regional deterrence. The economic impact of the conflict is already being felt worldwide. Oil prices have surged past $100 per barrel, reaching levels not seen in several years. Energy analysts say fears about potential disruptions to shipping routes through the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical oil transit corridors, are driving the spike. Rising oil prices could push fuel costs higher globally and add pressure to already fragile economic conditions. Financial markets have also reacted to the instability. Global stock markets have experienced volatility as investors weigh the potential long-term consequences of the conflict. Economists warn that prolonged instability in the Middle East could affect energy supplies, trade routes, and overall, global economic growth. Security experts are increasingly warning that the stakes of the conflict extend far beyond the region itself. Analysts say tensions among major global powers have reached levels not seen in decades, raising concerns about the potential risks of miscalculation or escalation. Diplomatic efforts are underway across multiple international channels, but so far a clear path toward de-escalation remains uncertain. As the situation continues to develop, governments around the world are urging restraint while preparing for a range of possible outcomes. We will continue to monitor these developments closely and bring you the latest updates as they unfold. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next report.